So, welcome to the lecture number 12 of the deep learning course. In this session, we are going to talk about the regularization into the neural network. So, this is the graph we have also seen earlier also that if we hypothetically plot on one side that what is the training error and what is the testing error, and the setting is this, that you have some database and you have divided this database into some ratio into the training and testing. So, we can say that there could be four quadrant, means from very high level perspective we can think that there are four different quadrant are possible. What are those places? So training error, if just we see from the training error perspective, we can say that this is a very high area where the training error is high and here the training error is low. Similarly, testing error, we see that high testing error or low testing error. So if we divide this whole space into the four different parts, we can think that this is a one area where training error is also high and testing error is also high. This is the area where training error is also low and testing error is also low. So ultimately our objective would be to reach this particular place. Somehow we want to be here. Okay, as less training error, as less testing error, we want to be here. But when the system starts and it try to evaluate that what is the training and testing error. So where are we? So generally you think that since when the system is start means when you are actually initializing your parameter and try to find out that what is the right parameter, your training has not yet started. So most probably you would be into this particular area. You would be here. You would be here. Most probably you are going to be here. Then what would happen? When you start training, your parameter are going to change. It may be possible that you can move into this particular direction. Is it possible? No, this is not possible, because if you go into this particular direction means what? Your error is training error is increasing, and we have seen that how we do the weight update. We use gradient to do the weight update, and they actually minimizes your training error. So definitely you cannot go into this direction, because it means that you are actually not applying the gradient descent method. So you cannot go into this particular direction. So what is the direction that you can move? You can move anywhere. For example, here, all these things are possible, because if in whatever direction you are going, in whatever way you are going, in whatever direction you are going, there is a projection into the training error that says that my training error is going to reduce. In this, you are ultimately, even if you are going to follow this particular path, there is some small portion that says that this much training error is going to be reduced. This would happen because you know that as I just mentioned, that because you are using gradient descent based methods, so definitely your error is going to reduce. But again, the problem is this, that multiple options are there. So either you can go into this particular direction. What does it mean? Let me one by one try to evaluate this path. What does this path means? Can you go into this particular direction? Yes, definitely you can go, but what does it mean? It means that your testing error is not reducing any much. Your testing error is not reducing any much, because you are going to this particular direction. There is no projection onto the testing error axis. So your only training error is going to reduce. It may be possible. If you are going into this particular direction, so it is a very bad direction where your training error is actually reducing, but your testing error is becoming high. Very bad direction, because ultimately what you want to be good on the using the training examples, you want to be good on the testing examples. But if you are going into this particular direction means what? You are going to be better on the training thing, but on the testing you are going to be bad. A better approach would be that if you go into this particular direction, okay, if you go into this particular direction, it is a better approach. So this, how to avoid this? The question comes that how can I avoid this moving into this particular direction? Right now we don't have any clues. So there is some other part of the database also. If you have the database, as you know that you divide into the training and testing test part, and into the training part you also keep some portion with you, and you say that it is a validation part. So validation is open to you. So whenever you are going to train something, you check on the validation set. And because validation is also something that is actually you are not utilizing into the training. So essentially you are going to utilize only this portion of the data for the training. So remaining portion, this portion you are actually not showing to the system. So you are training the system on this particular thing. You are going into some direction, is some into, you are going moving into the left hand side. But using this thing, using this kind of data, you can find out that whether you are going upside or downside or into the straight wave, in what is your direction. So if you find out that your direction is actually this, because now you can evaluate the error on this particular unknown data, then you can tell that okay, it looks like that there is some problem with the parameter. You change the network parameter, you change the network architecture, you do something else, so that this the setting that you are actually in is not good. So you change something, and then you definitely you can come into this, either into this particular place or this particular thing. Definitely you would not like this also. So then you can understand that okay, I'm progressing in this particular direction. So this is the importance of validation set, that you use the validation set, and validation set can give you a handle that you know that in which direction I'm going to move. As I told you that if you don't think about the validation set, it may also be possible that you can go into this particular direction. That is not a right direction, because ultimately you are not going to achieve this. Somehow, if I'm just asking a question, somehow if you can move into this particular direction, is it possible? Is it a good move? If somehow you move into this particular direction, is it a good move? Definitely, because what is going to happen, that your testing error is going to reduce, and your ultimately your objective is to be good on the testing error. So this move is good. Okay, but this you cannot take because your testing error is not reducing. So you don't have any handle on that. Okay, how can you understand that if you're even, because only test training error is given training data is given to you. If you are not good on the training data, then what is going to happen? How can you understand that you are actually learning? You should also get a feeling that you are learning, but going into this direction is not possible. Okay, you would not be able to understand that you are learning. So definitely this is again a big problem, and you would again in this portion also you would change your network parameters so that your training error is going to reduce something. However, you are most likely to choose this particular path. Let me give you an example. If two paths are available, for example, somehow you come up that there is a path A and there is a path B. So based on your setting, which path you are going to assume, you are going to take, which path you would like. Okay,
Path A.
you would like A path, okay, not the B path. Why? Because if you go into the A path, in the same time this much error has been reduced on the training thing, but on the B this much has been reduced. So you would definitely like A to go ahead with. However, in terms of the, if you just see in terms of the testing error, this path is this much good only and B is this much good. So who is more better in terms of the test actual training to the parameter? B is more good, but you don't know about that. So you would be choosing this A. So this is the very important part, that whenever you have only the training data as a guidance, then definitely you don't know that what is the right thing. But using validation, you can again understand that using validation, you can figure out that okay, looks like that B is more better than A. This is the importance of the validation. So definitely what is going to happen, so let's assume that we have set everything, then you would be moving into this particular direction. Okay, so when you move into this particular direction, means your training error is going to be reducing and testing error is also reducing. Okay, so if you keep on training into this particular thing, as I told you that you are out of these two methods, A and B, you are going to choose the A. So you would reach to this particular area. Whether this area is good, again this area is not that good, because however you are reducing your testing error, but this is not that good. So what you should do, you should find out something that has more gradient, so that ultimately you reach to this particular place. Okay, your task is to do this thing. But whenever you move to this particular new kind of path, this is a dangerous path, because here you see that your learning is actually your learning on the training is not going to be good. And whenever I say that learning means empirical only, because only empirical data is given to you, so you most probably would not be using this particular parameter. Okay. So this particular thing is called actually the overfitting. This particular scenario, when you are going to use this thing where you are learning very much, and most probably, as I told you, that you would be going into this particular direction only if you are if you don't use the validation set. You are going to these particular directions only because they seem more lucrative. They are more tempting to be followed because they are reducing your training error much. So you would be going into this particular direction, and most probably these directions are going to be do a overfitting. Because if you increase the model complexity, if you increase the power of the model, then they can be very specific to your data. They can learn the parameter which are very specific to your data, and that's why they are very good on this, and they have a problem. Okay. However, if you see the general behavior, how you would go, so you know that there is a curve that you have seen earlier also, that generally what would happen, generally this kind of behavior is going to happen. General path is this. Generally you would be moving into this particular direction, and this is going to happen. This is the trajectory you follow. What is this trajectory? It says that when you keep training, your training error is always going to reduce, because this curve, if you go into this particular direction, your training error is always going to reduce. But testing error, for some time it is reducing, after that it is increasing. Okay, generally this kind of behavior is going to be. Where to stop is again a very important question, that you should stop at this particular moment. How to find out this? That uh, a right kind of criteria that can guide you to stop at this particular place. Okay. If you are moving, and if this is a graph, then if you are moving into this particular direction, what would happen? Your graph would be this. So you would not be able to reach, to this particular area at all if you are moving into this particular direction. Once again, what is the difference between this learning curve and this learning curve? Definitely, very important thing I am going to tell, that this learning curve is learning slowly. Here you can see that this learning curve is learning slowly, and this learning curve is learning very fast. Okay, this learning curve is learning very fast. Learning slowly means the system is not that much capable. Understand? Because something is, if something is learning very fast, means it is more capable. If something is learning slow, means it is less capable. So if you want to be, and which is better, we have discussed that this is better because it can lead you to reach to this particular area. The above one is not that good, but this above one is a more powerful one, and below one is less powerful. So what you want? You want a less powerful system. But if you, again, if you, the system is very less powerful, so maybe you can go into this way also. Who knows, that you can only reach to this particular point. If it is very less, then you may not be able to reduce the error very much. You can stop at this particular place. You can saturate. So there is a always a kind of uh, what we say, that there is these are the opposite things to achieve. Okay, one side we want to be simplified, another side we want to be very much strong. So what is the middle way? This we have to understand. Okay, very important thing is this, that whenever you start, you should start with a very good model, and try to do something that if it is not fitting well on the testing thing, the system should be able to system should have the capability to reduce its complexity whenever it is not suitable on the data. What I said that better method would be that you start with a very strong kind of model, but the model should have the capability to reduce its weight in such a way so that it can be more generalizable, for the cases when it is not going to be good. So this kind of scenario is called what? This kind of scenario is called regularization, that we are going to apply some kind of regularization. Definitely you don't want to be here, because this is both training and testing error are here. This is the better place. Why this is a better place? Because ultimately here the testing error is very less. So this is the better place, where however the training error is high, so you don't know that whether you are going to the right way or not. So the best place is this, where training and testing error boards are less, but you don't know that how to reach this particular place without overfitting. But and this is the third place, means here you don't want to be, because testing error is bad. If the testing error is bad, you don't want to be there. So let us try to understand some of the methods that are actually utilized into the general setting. So from the machine learning, if you see that there is something, some regulation we have discussed into the previous classes also, that in the logistic regression, you say that so how you define the last function there. So this is the definition. So what it is, that you actually, it wanted to say that you have a model and you are going to say put some x to the system is going to tell you y. So it is a estimate of y. The actual value of y may be y, you are expecting the y, but you got y hat. So the system says that somehow you should create a function that is, for example, a loss function that you can come up with, that compares this y hat and y, and gives you the value that what is the loss. This loss could be y hat minus y of a square also. So in this way also you can utilize. So some function that we are going to utilize and try to find out that how much loss we have when I am going to get y hat instead of y. For all the data items, you are going to find out the summation of this particular term, and then you divide by 1 upon m, because you want to be this actually says that you are normalizing on the single data item on an average how much error you are going to have, and this error you want to reduce. This is a special function that we call the loss function, and your objective would be, because how can you come up with this particular value of y? Because you have some parameter. Let's assume that you have some parameter w. Based on this w, you are going to find out the value of y hat. So this jw means, given the w, you whatever this loss you are going to get, you if you change the value of w, this is going to change. Okay, there was a question, I just missed that. Let me I would take this question just after this. So you uh, yeah, I was telling that there is a last function, and if you change the value of w, this last function is going to change. So ultimately, with the different kind of values, you want to find out that particular w that can minimize this particular quantity. Means with the different kind of values, let's say, let me just write uh, very cruelly, that do whatever you do, but evaluate on all the values of w's and give me that particular w that minimizes this particular quantity. However, finding this until we have a specific kind of method, we cannot reach to that. But let me write into this particular way in a very as I told you, that in a very simplified way, by saying that you find out, you evaluate the JW for all the possible values of W and give me that particular W that minimizes this particular quantity. So this is the general setting that in which we are. So with this kind of setting, we have seen that when we were doing the logistic regression at that time also we have faced this particular problem, and did not wanted that our W should be very large. We did not wanted that our weight should be very large, and we have seen that what is going to happen with the large weights, that actually that particular connection influences the network. So we want to make it small, and for that we have added this particular quantity. And what is this quantity? We would come back to soon. Let me just take this question. The question is this: why is the speed of learning given so much priority? Even if the model learns slowly but gives the less testing error, shouldn't it be better? You are definitely right. Okay, you are definitely right. But when we say actually slow, na, so because our whenever we talk. So if I say, look into the into the scientific community, if I say that something is hard, means what? Something is hard means it cannot be done. Okay, it is not like that ki you would take much time and you would be able to do. If I say that doing this thing is hard, m- comparing two images directly is hard, means what? You cannot do it. So similarly, if it is going to be small, means what? Maybe it takes 100 years, because you know that word is 10,000 crores years old. I don't know that, I'm just saying any word. So 100 years is nothing in terms of the earth. But if your training is going to take 100 years, would you be able to afford that? So you are perfectly right, because as I told you that even if it is going to be improved very tiny, ultimately it would reach to the right thing. But if it is not going to be fast, definitely it is not going to be useful for us. Okay, so only, because once again, let me give you this idea also, that from the computational complexity and from the algorithm, you know that you can solve any problem given infinite amount of time. Okay, this is the general statement, that given infinite amount of time you can solve any problem. For example, uh, I want to take I want to bring moon on the earth. Okay, I want to bring moon on the earth. Can I do it? Yeah, can you, if you give it this problem to me, I can do it. Okay, I would take infinite amount of time. That's it, I can do it. Whatever problem you can give me, I can solve it in infinite amount of time. Because but if you are going to, if you are going to afford the infinite of amount of time, I can always do that. Even if I'm not doing, I can do it. That's it. So time is very important. Okay, yeah. Let's come back to our discussion. I was talking about this particular quantity, that earlier the quantity was only this. I told that I'm going to add one more term over here, and this is called the regularization term. I'm not going to explain this much, because we assume that you know this, what is the importance of this particular term. And what is the importance of this particular term? Let me just quickly tell you only this, that if there are few connections which are very strong, means what? That network is always going to take the decision based on them, because they are influencing whatever value you are going to send over here. They are influencing their network parameter. So even if the network has multiple connections, those connections are not going to make any sense if some weights are very high. So everything would be dominated by them only. So you can remove those connections and you can tell that okay, only network is only this part. That's why we don't want to give very high weight to any of the any of the parameters. So we want that the weight should also be small. What would happen if the weights are small? They are comparable. So then everybody is going to participate and you are going to get the right kind of solution. Okay, so there is this particular term has been added. What it says, that however I want to minimize this particular quantity, but at the same time, what is this? Let's assume, and what is this? Weights. Mm, this is actually L2 norm. You know that if there is a vector, for example, if W is equal to W0, comma W1, W2, W3, dot dot dot. If this is the vector, then L2 norm, actually it is written that this is the L2 norm of that particular vector, and L2 norm of that particular vector is, you know that it is given by square root of W0 square plus W1 square plus W2 square dot dot dot. When you take a square of this particular quantity, means what? This under root part actually vanishes. So this under root part vanishes. So this is the equation that actually you get this particular quantity. Square of all the weights would be small. So now you can see that square of the weights, that is also a big number. This should also be small. All right. Since W is a vector, so sometime it may be possible that W transpose W. If you write W transpose W, it is going to represent the same quantity. Am I right? Because W is mostly we call W0 plus W1 dot dot Wn. and this is the W. Okay, if we write W transpose, it becomes what? W0 W1 dot dot Wn, and you multiply with this W0 W1 W2 dot dot. So term by term multiplication would be there, and you would be getting W0 square plus W1 square dot dot dot, the same quantity. Okay, sometime just to represent into the more clear way, we can write this particular equation. Okay, you also know that writing the summation is also again the same thing. So this is the equation. Instead of, sometime people actually, sometime there is a, sometime people say that why you are putting the square of this particular term, why not L1 norm? Okay, sometimes people say that instead of L2 norm, people can also use the L1 norm. So here you can write W of, no, don't put the square. I think L1 norm does not require the square also. So for all the weights, you are going to find out what is the L1 norm. But we have seen that practically that actually it is W0 plus W1. By this also you can say that all the weights are actually going to be small. But this setting has a specific kind of problem people had obtained, that if you put this kind of setting, this function minimizes most of the time when all the most of the values are actually going to be zero. Okay. Well, however, uh, when we put the L2 norm, the value are actually going to be become small. Why? Because other values which are not small, they are very large. Okay, as compared to, if some value is small, other values are, if any other value is larger, it is very large. So if you minimize this quantity something, it would be better to minimize as compared to minimizing this particular quantity. A small value are small. Let's assume that two weight vectors are there, one is larger and another is smaller. So which you would like to minimize? Definitely the larger one, because larger one square becomes even larger, and therefore you minimize that particular quantity. And if that is being minimized, you'd be happy that okay, I have minimized too much. But here, if the all the things are only, if there is square is not being updated, then everything becomes equal kind of treatment. And then there comes a, you don't focus on this particular quantity. Just try to understand, you are not forced to focus on this larger quantity. Everything is equally important for you. Then definitely you would like to minimize this particular quantity. And because if minimization of this larger one and smaller one, both are going to have the same weight. Okay, if something you are minimizing, I have done this. क्या गड़बड़ हो गया? So what I wanted to tell, that if some value is this and another value is this, so minimizing this quantity and reducing this quantity and this quantity, both have the same kind of same kind of effect. Okay, but if I use a square, then what would happen? The quantities are now not this. This is the this quantity, and another one is the this quantity, because the square is going to be very large as compared to the other values. So you would definitely like to minimize this particular quantity before minimizing this particular quantity. Okay, that's why using when you use the L2 norm, then the weights are going to be small. But if you use the L1 norm, then the problem is this, that most of the values are going to be zero, because this as I told you, that both minimizing any one of any other vector is not going to give me any special advantage. So I would minimize the smaller one only, and definitely many of them become zero. But the problem with having zero weights, zero weights is a bad thing. Okay, because let's assume that you have developed a neural network circuit, and some weights are there. If the weight becomes zero, means what? You are actually disconnecting those units. So these units are actually disconnected. If the units are disconnected, your network actually is shut down. Okay, you have not used this particular thing. So actually you don't want this, because you have created a network circuit. You want that network circuit should survive. Okay, not the completely killing that particular circuit. Even if with the smaller values, sometime it may give you some kind of important things, that is fine. So that's why we utilize this L2 norm, on the L1 norm. Okay, so now you understand this particular part. So this thing we have seen with respect to what? Logistic regression. But we have the neural network. Okay, but in our setting we are talking about the neural network. So what is happening into the neural network? Multiple layers are there. Okay, layer number 1, layer number 2, layer number 3, layer number 4. Multiple layers are there that we have. Let's assume that capital L number of layers we have. So we would be having multiple parameters. There would be some parameter here, some parameter here, some parameter here, some parameter here. Everywhere there would be parameter. So apart from using the previous formula that we were using with respect to the loss, we should this particular term that we were earlier using need to be modified, because now if you use the single term, so you would be only here only, because multiple layers are there. For all the layers, once again, there is a you. I think you can concentrate on this. For all the layer, you have to find out the summation. For L is equal to 1 to L. For all the layers, you find out that what is the WL square. Again, the same thing that I'm going to find out from here all the square of all the parameter. Here also square of all the parameters, square of all the parameters. So this particular formula says that you are going to find out the summation of all these things. I think this here it would be more clear. The same thing is written into this particular way. So let me reduce the clutter first, so that you can focus on this particular content only. So what I wanted to tell that this is the same thing that we were using earlier. This is the last function, but regularization term was this. And here, if you focus on the inner part only, where earlier what was happening, that I was using this quantity. Here I am telling that instead of this particular quantity, I am going to use a summation for all the layers. So on every layer, you know that it was very simple. For every layer, even if there are multiple layers, for every layer it is the weight ij of square, summation of all the weights square. So if I say that mm, let me just write, this is the first layer, second layer, third layer, fourth layer. So first layer, so there will be some input layer. Okay, so what are the weight? W01, W02, W03 dot dot dot. Here you can say that W12, W1. What is this? W11, W12, W13. Okay, dot dot dot. All the weights. W2. Now I'm not talking about with respect to the units. Let's assume that you find out all the weights. So W21, W22 dot dot W2K. Let's assume that K weights are there. Similarly, W31, W32 dot dot all the weights. So you find out what is the square of all these individual terms. So it says that for all the terms which are weights are there, for with all the possible values of how many units are into the previous layer, how many units are into this particular layer. Using this thing, you find out that the summation of this particular quantity. Any questions if you have, please let me know. I think it is clear. Okay, is it clear that how you find out this particular summation for all the things? Yes, can you write yes? Anybody? Yes. So this is how you change this particular formula. Nothing more than this, that you are actually putting the square of this particular quantity. Again, my question would be that if you want to find out that in what is the updated value of any weight, for example, any weight, if you find out and you want to update that particular weight, how can you update? You already know that you see that particular weight, find out there is some derivative. What is the derivative of with respect to del upon del j upon del wi with respect to, and you multiply with the alpha. Go and see if this is a positive quantity, means if you increase the value of wj, then your error is going to increase, so you reduce. Okay, you go into the negative direction because you don't want to increase the uh, cost function. So you go into the negative direction of that particular thing, and you say that earlier value of w should be reduced, so that you can go into this particular direction. If it is negative, then I'm fine, then I will go into the positive direction, and by this we are going to update the parameters. Okay, what does f subscript means, sir? Where is the f? Okay, so f is nothing more than, I told you that there is some fancy name of this L2 norm So sometime we write F. Okay, it is a L2 norm only. Okay, Frobenius norm. Sometimes people mention this. So you have discussed that the you if you find out this particular quantity, this is nothing more than this, that finding out that what is the gradient. You have to go into the reverse direction of the gradient, and by this you can update all these parameters. That's it. However, if you look this particular thing closely and you want to understand that how much this particular quantity is going to be, once again, let us just focus on this particular quantity, that how much this particular quantity is. So one minute. So 1 minute. So this particular how, if you want to find out the derivative, once again, if you want to find out derivative with respect to any wj, so this quantity, you know, that we have seen earlier, and you know that you use back propagation to find out that for how much you should change so that the network the loss is going to reduce. But this particular quantity is again going to be added to your system, and that's why you would be getting something from here also if you want to update. So what you get from here, you know that there is a square term, therefore if you do the derivative, it becomes 2 multiplied by wl. Okay, 2 multiplied by w, because this square comes out, this square comes out, it get cancelled by this particular 2. So lambda upon m times what? W, because it is a square term only. So this term extra you are going to get. So so whenever you want to modify, whenever you want to modify your weight, so this particular quantity has two parts. First part that is coming from the back propagation, and the second part that you have seen, that lambda upon m w. Is it clear to everybody? This formula is clear because it was a square, and one half we were, just for the mathematical convenience, we have put that particular quantity, so it get adjusted into the previous expression. So you got this nice kind of expression. So let us put this into this particular place. So if this I put some into this particular equation, it says that outside there is an alpha, inside something coming from the back propagation, and this quantity. Okay, so now we can say that this alpha can be multiplied by inside. So alpha lambda divided by m multiplied by this quantity can come over here, because this is also the weight, this is also the weight. So alpha time back propagation, we can write alpha time back propagation, and we take this particular formula and club it with here. We say that 1 minus alpha lambda divided by m wi. Is it clear? Can you write yes, that you are okay with this particular formula? Yes, you are okay with this formula? Can you write yes or okay? Yes? Okay, good. Everybody please write, okay? Good. So we understand that this is how we are going to update the weights. And now this is an important quantity. Okay, very interesting quantity. What is important about this? That let's assume that nothing is coming from the back propagation. Back propagation is not going to tell you anything. However, this would not happen. But let's assume that when my network had learned everything, now still I am going to do my training. Okay, so this particular portion would be zero. Back propagation part, it is going to be zero if everything is okay. But if we keep training, what is going to happen? Because of this formula, 1 minus alpha lambda, you know that alpha is also a small quantity, lambda is also a small quantity. So alpha lambda is a small quantity, and m is a very large number because number of data items that you have. So this is going to be very small quantity. But even then, this is reduced, this is subtracted by 1. So 0, maybe 0.999 multiplied by wi. But still, what does it mean? That even if nothing was going to need to be changed, your weight are going to reduce. Okay, due to of this factor, this your weight are definitely going to reduce. Means this particular method is called the weight decay. Means when you apply a regularization on your system, this particular method is called the weight decay. So definitely your weight are going to decrease. Even if everything is right and you are going to train, your weights are going to decrease. So so what is the effect of all these things? Again, the same similar kind of effect would come, that that your network becomes simplified. If the weights are going to be reduced, means what? That their influence is going to be reduced. their influence is going to reduce into the system, and therefore your network is going to be better generalized. Okay, as we had discussed, with the low weight, when the weights are low, the connection gets weakened, and so the network has effectively less connection, and therefore it becomes simpler. Another intuition is that when the weights are lower, the output of the unit is also lower. Okay, so what happens when the weights here are the lower, so whatever you, if you provide some inputs over there and you get, for example, unthresholded one output sum, and after that you apply some sigmoid or tan h, any activation function on this particular value, just see that what is the summation. Okay, just see what is the summation. If the weights are lower, this summation is also lower. So for, let's assume that we, the function that we are going to use is a tan h, so the input that goes to this particular tan h is a small value. So you know that what is the tan h function. Tan h function is of this particular function. What do you mean by the smaller summation? Smaller summation means that you are going to have these values. Okay, when you are going to have these values, what does it mean? That you are going to be into this particular area. Okay, in this particular area, you see that the network is a kind of linear network, linear output you are going to get. So what does it mean? That your network is actually now linear network. Linear network means what? Linear network means what? That if you, even if you are going to have a big neural network circuit, so ultimately it we have seen that if the units are linear, ultimately it collapses to a single neuron. Okay, however, it is extreme case, as I'm telling, that it is not completely linear, but some kind of linear behavior comes to your system, and therefore the overall power of your system actually reduces, and therefore you are going to get the regularize. Okay, your system is going to be better fit, your power of your system is going to be reduced, and therefore you are going to be more generalizable. Okay, so as we have discussed, so overall network tends to become linear, and therefore it is a more biased network. So this was the one method when actually we have add the penalty on the weights, and we have actually applied the weight decay method to get regularization. Another method is very out of box method. Okay, it is a very destructive kind of method, and even if, so is there a quantification of how linear a network is? So as I told you, the network is not going to be linear. It is definitely going to be non-linear only. And quantification you cannot do because all the units are there are non-linear unit. But from the very high level perspective, you can think that it is linear. And just from the philosophical level, you can understand all these things, that things are linear. They are not linear. They are definitely non-linear things because you have all the units are non-linear. Make sense? Okay. So this is a very dropout is a very radical kind of technique that says that shut down some of the units randomly shut down some of the unit. So here is a network that contains some network architecture, but what I'm telling, that randomly drops some of the network unit. So I have shut down these units. What does it mean? That on the network you compute that what should be the update, but if this unit is shut down, means all these weights are not going to be updated. Where you have computed, but these things are not going to be updated. Okay, these things are not going to be updated, these weights are not going to be updated, these weights are also not going to be updated. So what happens, that if you're not updating means what? Now you see that network view, this is the network. Okay, very sparse kind of network that you are going to have. So what would happen, that if you sometime you are going to shut down these units, next time you going to shut down other unit, any other unit. Okay, so network is going to change its behavior when you are going to update. So what would happen, that just think about this particular neuron, and if the complete network is there, so let's assume that somehow this particular path becomes very all the weights into this particular path are very large. So if you are going to apply a dropout, then sometime this may not be available. then how come this particular neuron can depend upon these weights? Now it cannot depend upon these weights. It cannot take the decision based on this. So this particular path is not going to be updated in that particular scenario. So others are going to get the chance to get updated. So what would happen? The on an average, all the things are going to get the similar kind of treatment, and therefore at later point of time, everybody is going to contribute to the network, and you are going to learn very well. This is a very interesting technique. And the paper that we have talked few days back, that about the last landscape, actually talks about this thing. He had shown me this particular graph, that last landscape is this, and we know that very difficult to go ahead, you know that. If you want to go, if you are here, you would stuck in this particular place. Even if you are here, you would stuck somewhere here. You are here, you would stuck at this particular places. You cannot reach to this global minima, because finding going to the local minima is very bad. But when you apply this skip connection, uh, or the dropout, what would happen, that this kind of network you are going to get, this kind of network, this kind of last landscape you are going to get. And you can see that this is a very good network, last landscape, because if you start here, you would be able to reach this particular place. However, there are some places, if you start here, you can be stuck. But most of the places you can find out that looks like that you are going to reach to this particular global minima. Understand? So this is the very interesting paper, and I suggest you to just look on this. That by applying the method of dropout, they have very effectively able to change the last landscape, and therefore it is more probable to get the better results. Another method to do the regularization is the early stopping, and you know that early stopping. What is the early stopping? That we have talked multiple number of time also. That what happens, that when you're when you keep training, your error on the training error is going to reduce. Error on going to reduce, but on the testing error, sometime initially it is going to reduce, but after that it is going to increase, because here the system, we say that here we have the overfitting arena, we should stop at this before. We have also seen that, you can see that here, you can draw a line over here, you can see that looks like that this is a elbow point. So at the elbow point, you can stop. So this particular thing is called the early stopping. If you apply this kind of technique and you stop before being very good on your data, it is called the early stopping. Once again, you can be this much better, but you are stopping at this particular point, and you are not going to be this much better. Okay, you consciously decided that you would not going to be this much better. This is called the early stopping. You are stopping at this particular place. So this is another regularization method. Our next regularization method is also very interesting. It says that, as I told you, that what is going to happen if you have a database, and on which you have developed a model. On the training it is very good, on the testing it is bad. So why don't you put something from here also into the testing? If you put more example, so the unknown thing, on the unknown things, my system is bad. So you put more unknown things into this particular thing, means you increase the data. If you increase the data, then system would learn, because now the more example are there, it would be better on this also. So therefore we think that from where these things are coming, outside. So on the outside the system is going to be better. This is the very layman explanation, that you are bringing more data to the system, and the system becomes better. And most of the time, when even if you don't have the data, you can apply some of the methods to do the augmentation. Augmentation actually says that, for example, into the case of images, you can apply flip. For example, this image has been flipped, so rotate. Okay, so I have not rotated anything. Maybe you can rotate few angle. Scale means this is a bigger size. Okay, translate means you can transfer. If is for someone is standing here, you make it standing at this particular place. Translate. Deform, for example, you can x-axis deformation, y-axis deformation. So some kind of deformations you can apply. So if you apply these kind of thing using the same data, same data, you can create more instances, and then you train your system on based on these kind of thing. Very important thing. Okay. Next thing is the actually the training technique that we want to discuss is called the normalization of the data. What is the normalization of the data? So you know that when you have a data, for example, let's assume that I have this data. Okay, I have this particular data. So in this particular data, you say that the spread of data onto this particular axis is this much. However, on this axis, it is only this much. So if this is 2 unit, this may be 5 units. Okay, this is more than this. So on the different axis, if your data is distributed into the different way, so you can do a min max normalization, and you can say that I'm going to min max means I'm going to use this kind of you can transform it like this. All the data are only into this particular area. Okay, so min max normalization, if you apply, we have already discussed this thing, that this is not going to affect the classification uh, problem as such. Complexity of the classification problem remains the same. However, you get the speed up. You are going to, your training would be fast. Why your training is fast? Because if you use this kind of scenarios, uh, your uh, your loss would be of this particular quantity, this kind of thing. But when you apply a kind of normalization, then this changes to a circular kind of thing. Okay, this changes to where is the pen? This changes to circular thing. So into the circular thing, what is the advantage? That if sometime if you are here, you go into this particular place, you jump to this particular place, because on one side, uh, training into this particular direction is going to have more weights as compared to this particular direction. Okay, update into this particular weight is going to be smaller as compared to this particular weight. So if you normalize, then updates in all the parameters are equally important, and therefore you would be very quickly able to reach to the global minima. Okay, so that's all for today.